Dr. C.L. Lakshmana Rao is a senior professor in the Department of Applied Mechanics at IIT Madras. He is a great source of inspiration for VSC. I request him to share a few words with us.
सर्वमंगल मांगल्ये शिवे सर्वार्थ साधके शरण्ये त्र्यंबके गौरी नारायणी नमोस्तुते श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः. I pay respects to Swami Sarvagatananda, who was the inspirer for me for 5 years when I was in Boston, a very senior monk in the Ramakrishna order, and then try to say something. Respected Swami Atmagananda, Swami Atmashraddhananda, Krishna Rajji, and other my friends at VSC and dear friends. I think we can spend some time to just ruminate about the role of organizations like VSC in a campus like IIT. We have to go back to Indian tradition, which says, there's a famous statement, Manushyanam Nara Janma Durlabham. It's rare to get a human birth. And then it goes on. Now, having got a human birth, it's a travel between birth to death. Jata sehi dhruvo mrityoho dhruvam janma mudasya cha. So, there is a growth, there is a physical growth, and apparently there is a mental growth. And in this process of growth, there is always something that the individual tries to achieve in various ways. And what the progress of the individual should be, the progress or the activities of the individuals are also classified in the tradition in the form of dharma, artha, kama, moksha. These are the pursuits of all individuals. Predominantly, we focus on dharma, artha, and dharma viruddha kama, and so on. And moksha is also at least heard in Indian tradition. You may not hear it so strongly in other traditions. And of course, there is always an inquiry as to what is moksha. And moksha is supposed to be the goal of life. And without moksha, you will continue the cycles of birth and death, is what we hear from the Vedas and so on. So, so the pursuit of moksha as an important aspect of life is something that needs to be recognized at every stage of life. And that is something that is not taught in a regular curriculum in places like IIT. We focus primarily on artha. We're preparing our students so that they get good jobs or they go and do something else. So, nevertheless, students are here at the prime of their youth, and therefore the overall picture of the role of artha within the pursuit of what we do in life cannot be missed out, and it should be available to them, even though that's not the primary goal of an institution like IIT. And therefore, I think there's a role to play, for institutions like Vivekananda Study Circle to at least expose students to what the whole scheme is about, and where some of the solutions for the problems that people face may lie. It is said in Mundakopanishad that Dve Vidye Veditavye Paracha Aparacha. One is a Paravidya and the other is Aparavidya. And under Paravidya, they classify everything. Rigvedo, Yajurveda, Samavedo, Atharva Veda, Shiksha, Kalpa, Vyakaranam, Niruktam, Chandas, Jyotigam. So various things are told, including the Vedas, are called as Aparavidya. And then the Upanishad goes about saying what is Paravidya. Ada para yena tadaksharam adhigamyate yat tades adresham agrahyam agotram avarnam achakshushrottam tadapadipādam nityam vibham sarvagatam susukshmam yat bhutayonim parivashyanti dhiraha. So what simply translated, it simply says that there is something which cannot be grasped by your eyes, which cannot be grasped by your hands, which doesn't have any particular form, and which is all pervading, and which is the cause of this entire universe. And this, the brave people or the real seers see. And the knowledge of this is the one that will free you from the bondage of cycles of death and birth and death. So that there is something called Paravidya is something that at least one should have aparoksha jnana. I mean, in the sense that we should know that there is something called Paravidya. And if you have the energy and time for it, you can devote all your energies, all your life for the pursuit of Paravidya. Even if you don't pursue that as a full-time activity, the role of Paravidya in everything else that one pursues is something that needs to be recognized. And that is where I think some education is important, at least to know where things stand. And so all that we do in a curriculum like an institution like IIT is to train people in Aparavidya. Even if you study Vedas, etc., it is classified as Aparavidya. And therefore, and that there is something else called Paravidya is something that cannot be told pure in a class, but at least it can be exposed in some form. And this is something that is important. I mean, even when I was a student here, this exposure to Paravidya is something that always happens outside the classrooms in some way. Even in terms of giving the tools for this exposure, I'm not too sure whether institutions like IIT are doing to the extent that we should be doing. Most of what I've quoted now is in Sanskrit. And we take pride in teaching all languages, German, French, and recently Chinese and all that, but there's always a shyness to teach Sanskrit as a curriculum in this institution. It's only in the recent 1 or 2 years that you could find people, I mean, there's some attempt to teach Sanskrit as a small evening course and all that. And this is something that as an institution, I think there should be some reflection on. It is the basis of all knowledge. And this is something probably we should have been talking today in Sanskrit, and that's not happening because we seem to de-recognize its importance in general. Okay, so that's one aspect. So, and everything else because it's important for us to know Sanskrit, because many quotations that you see, that you get inspired from Vivekananda, can be traced to the language of Sanskrit. I mean, if only you knew where the origins are. I will just quote one or two examples. Our friend ended his speech with a clarion call: "Arise, awake, stop not until the goal is reached." In fact, you find that this is a description of Paravidya in Kathopanishad, where it was said, "Uttishtata jagrata prapya varan nibodhada kshurasya dhara nishita duratyaya durgam tat kavayo vadanti." So for me, it took about 15 years to trace the origin of this strong statement that Vivekananda was saying, to where its origins are. In fact, I mean, it is very clear that Vivekananda was amplifying many of the things that he himself has learned from our own Upanishads. And there should be an opportunity for us to learn, get the source of Swami Vivekananda, which is our own Upanishads and so on. In fact, in the same verse, you see Kshurasya Dhara, I mean, which is the razor's edge, which is the basis of the famous novel of by Somerset Maugham on this whole topic. Similarly, you do find some quotations arise, and then Uddishtata, I mean, that I have told you. Uddhared atmanatmanam natmanam avasadayet atmaeva hyatmano bandhu atmaeva ripuratmana. This again is from Bhagavad Gita. You are the maker of your own destiny is the basic essence of this. And this was also quoted in Bhagavad Gita in the context of explaining Paravidya. So you find that Paravidya has been given greatest importance in the tradition, and it is there if only we spend some time trying to see what it all means. And then it is worth also examining the phenomenon of Bhagavan Ramakrishna and Vivekananda. At one level, you had a great Upasaka and a Grihastha who was really worshipping and doing various things, which may look like a mumbo jumbo for a rationalistic mind, but definitely it had its own role to play. And he was a Devi Upasaka, and many others were Devi Upasakas, including our celebrated Ramanujan. And so we should know that the role of Upasana in the whole scheme of things. Even in the tradition, it is said that Upasana helps to train your mind and to make it sharp so that you will be able to appreciate the Paravidya. And it has a strong power, and many of us who are educated in the modern times seems to lose faith in what an upasana means or what meditation and other practices are. So this is another thing that needs to be really imbibed in a strong sense by us. Now, as another last point that I would like to say is the role of pursuit of our own, what we recognize as Paravidya, within the context of what we do in our day-to-day life. Many students may find that the time that they spend on this looks like an isolated thing. If you are pursuing your studies of the Upanishads, etc., you may find yourself to be the odd man out in the whole scheme of things. If you declare for yourself that my Parama Purushartha is moksha and not artha, and you are not really interested in the high-paying jobs, then you really are sort of looked down upon within the context of what you see among all your friends, and therefore sustaining the interest is not an easy thing. This may also lead to a rebellion in the sense that, I don't care for my studies, I'll focus only on this and so on. And this is a delicate balance that needs to be balanced by a student. Especially, when PhD students, I mean, they tend to, some of them tend to spend some time or more time in all these things, especially when they are not able to make a progress in their own research. And balancing this is something that needs to be explored. And what this may result is in looking down upon the activities or activities of spending time on self-introspection and so on. I think there is a way to solve this problem. It's primarily because we are not able to link our practices with what we are pursuing. For a PhD student, for example, I think if there is a mismatch between his solving a problem and the time that he spends on activities of spiritual interest, is possibly because the grand picture is still not available for him, in the sense that the role of upasana or role of meditation, role of concentration, and even visualizing his own research problem as a form of the Lord, where you can really see a life in it and see some greatness in it, and therefore you're able to relate to it. These are the type of things that may ultimately help you transcend some of the blocks that one sees. So, and this is that it is possible to transcend the blocks that we face. It should be, I mean, faith in that should be there in all of us. And we all keep hearing stories that by the grace of the goddess, people like Kalidasa, who was completely illiterate, suddenly became a poet and so on. So these are not cock and bull stories. I mean, I think they have a reality in them, and the reality of them can be seen by us only when we have some faith in them. And therefore, there's a role for upasanas also in the pursuit of spiritual knowledge, as we see. So these are a few thoughts that I thought I can share with you. There is a role for organizations like VSC. There's much more role that they can play, and what they play should be is definitely dynamic. It's not a static thing. There is always something that you can discover in the rediscovery of the strengths of our own tradition through these forums. Thank you very much.